There is a moment in the life of every person when the road ahead disappears and they no longer know which direction is true. Most people spend their entire lives in that fog, searching for purpose, haunted by lies they were told about themselves, holding a version of life that never feels completely alive. But what if the answer was never hidden from you? What if it was spoken into existence 2,000 years ago, in a language older than Latin, older than Greek, in a tongue that carries vibration inside its very syllables? Jesus did not speak to his disciples in the polished language of philosophers or scholars. He spoke in Aramaic, the language of the street, of the heart, of divine fire. And when he opened his mouth and declared the words recorded in John 14:6, something was activated in the very fabric of reality. Those words were not a religious slogan. They were a living code, encoded in sound, in meaning, and in transformative power. But something about this declaration has been misunderstood, misquoted, and misapplied for centuries. Some teachers have claimed that Jesus was not speaking only about himself, that he was giving voice to something that lives in all of us. That question is not small, because the answer will either set you completely free or keep you bound to the wrong interpretation forever. This is the 6th declaration in our I Am series, and it may be the most transformative one yet. Tonight, we enter the original Aramaic sound of an now R-H, A-W-S-H, R-A-W, K-H-A-I-E-A, and we discover what Jesus was really declaring when he said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." To understand what Jesus declared in John 14:6, we must first remove every layer of translation that came after the original moment. The familiar words, "I am the way, the truth, and the life," reached Western consciousness through Greek and then Latin. Languages already centuries removed from the Aramaic that Jesus actually spoke. In that long journey across tongues, something vast was narrowed. Something living became doctrine, and something that was meant to be a living frequency became a static slogan. The original declaration is A-N-A na yurha, W-shara, W-A, and each word inside it carries a world. N-A does not simply mean I. In Aramaic spiritual tradition, N-A points to the eternal self, the self that exists beyond biography, beyond wound, beyond every performance of identity that life has conditioned us to maintain. It is the self that has never been separate from the divine. When Jesus spoke Ahena, he was not referencing his personal ego or human name. He was pointing to the source of all being, the ground where human and divine are not two separate things. URHA, translated his way, is not a road marked on a map or a set of rules to follow. Yeha in Aramaic is a living path, a movement that emerges from divine intelligence rather than human strategy or planning. To walk in URHA is not to follow a religion. It is to enter a current that already knows its destination and carries you there. SHRARA, rendered as truth, does not mean factual or intellectual correctness. Shra means alignment with the deepest layer of reality. It is the interior state of being undivided, no longer performing a version of yourself that was built on someone else's fear. Shrara is not won in a debate. It is lived from the inside. And K-life is not biological survival or daily function. K is the fullness of the life force itself, the aliveness of a person who has found alignment with the divine current. It does not arrive from outside. It rises from within, as the natural fruit of walking in Yurha and being rooted in Shwara. This is the vast territory that Jesus opened when he spoke na W S-H-R-A, R-A-W-K-H-A-I-E. There is a question that has quietly divided spiritual communities for generations, and it demands an honest answer. When Jesus spoke Anayana, Yeha, W-Sara, W-Sara, W-A, was he speaking exclusively about himself as an individual, or was he speaking as the embodied voice of a universal divine nature, the Christ that lives within all human beings? This interpretation carries genuine depth. Many sincere seekers have built meaningful spiritual lives around it, but it must be examined with precision, because the Aramaic itself reveals something that settles the question at its root. The key is A-N-A. As we have explored, A-N-A does not point to the limited personal self. It points to the eternal ground of all being, the divine source from which Jesus was speaking. And this is precisely where the universal interpretation contains real truth. Jesus was speaking from that ground. His declaration of Ana Yerha was made from the place of total unity with the Father, not from his biographical human identity alone. But here is the distinction that changes everything. There is a fundamental difference between speaking from a divine ground and being the complete, living embodiment of that ground for all humanity. Jesus was not simply articulating a spiritual principle that any person could equally claim. He was declaring that he, his life, his presence, his path, was the way, truth, and life made flesh in the world. This is not a doctrine invented later. It is embedded in the very structure of the declaration. The misunderstanding happens when the universal dimension of Ana is used to dissolve the personal claim entirely, but the Aramaic holds both in simultaneous, irreducible tension. Jesus spoke from the eternal Ana, and he spoke as himself, the one who fully and irreversibly embodied it. One does not cancel the other. To receive only the universal dimension and ignore the personal claim is to receive half a frequency, and half a frequency cannot produce full transformation. An Aina Yerha, W Sarah, WA, carries both, and both are necessary. The words of Jesus in Aramaic open different pathways back to divine alignment. Each one represents a frequency capable of restoring something fragmented in human consciousness. Understanding these frequencies is the first step, but mastering their vibration in your daily life is where the true miracle happens. Aramaic words carry a sound dimension that is deeply vibrational, and some of these pronunciations may reach your ear slightly differently depending on how they are rendered. To help you embody each frequency with precision, I created a collection of 5 sacred study guides, each one dedicated to a specific Aramaic declaration and its practice. Inside, you'll find the correct pronunciation, guided meditations, and daily activation rituals. The link is pinned in the comments. Your deeper transformation begins there. There is a specific form of suffering that comes from living without access to your true direction. It is not always loud or visible. Often it is slow, the quiet erosion of meaning that arrives when you realize the path you have been following was never really yours. You shaped yourself to what was expected, absorbed what you were told, performed the version of yourself that kept others comfortable, and at some point you stopped knowing which way was real. This is the pain that Yerha was declared to address, not a generic spiritual road, but the living current that belongs uniquely to your existence and yours alone. There is also a suffering that comes from inherited lies, not lies told with cruelty, but lies absorbed before you had any capacity to question them, beliefs about your worth, your right to take up space, your capacity to be fully alive and fully yourself. Sharara was spoken to dissolve those, not through argument, but through the return to what is deepest and most real about you. Many people spend entire decades defending a self-concept built entirely on false foundations. They are not confused because they are weak. They have simply never encountered a truth deeper than their own accumulated biography. And there is the suffering that comes when K is denied not death, but something more insidious than death. Half-life, breathing, functioning, moving through daily obligation, but never truly alive in the sense that K describes. Many people have never felt the specific aliveness that arises when purpose and truth align, completely in the same body at the same moment. They have known pleasure, distraction, and achievement, but that is something different from what Jesus was pointing toward, an aliveness that radiates from the inside out, unshakable and undeniable. A was spoken into this world of confusion, of inherited false selfhood, of half-lives performed on a stage built by other people's expectations. It was spoken for you. It was spoken for the part of you that is still searching for direction, tired of stories that were never true, and hungry for a life that is fully real and fully yours. If something in you is shifting as you receive this teaching, trust that movement. It is your original nature recognizing itself. The 5 sacred study guides were designed to walk beside you as that remembrance deepens, layer by layer, word by word, frequency by frequency. Each guide carries the full context of these sacred declarations, their sound, their meaning, and their power to dissolve what no longer belongs to you. The link is pinned in the comments. Your return to wholeness has a next step. Understanding Ana na yerha w shara wa is the beginning of something, but there is a living practice, a protocol through which this declaration can move from intellectual knowledge into embodied transformation. The Aramaic dimension is not incidental to this process. The sound itself carries activation. Each syllable was formed to resonate with specific dimensions of human consciousness and human experience. The first element of the protocol is intentional identification. Before engaging with Anan, Yerha, W Shara, Wa, pause and identify specifically where alignment has broken down in your life. Are you living without clear direction? Going through motions that feel disconnected from your true nature? Are you operating from a self-concept built on stories that belong to someone else's limitations and fears? Are you present in body, but absent from the kind of aliveness the Khayye describes? The precision of your entry point determines the depth of the activation that follows. The second element is conscious vocalization. Aramaic is a language designed to be spoken aloud. Its syllables carry a vibrational function that silent reading cannot access. Speak Ana na yerha w shara wa slowly and with full breath behind each word. Let Ana settle in your body as the recognition of the eternal self you carry within you. Let Irha open in your chest as the restoration of a living sense of direction. Let Shrada begin to dissolve the false architecture of every story you were handed and never chose. Let K rising you as embodied aliveness returning to a body that had forgotten what fully alive actually feels like. The third element is persistence with intention. Transformation in the Aramaic tradition is not a single moment. It is repetition, conscious and patient, until the frequency becomes native to your nervous system. Jesus did not speak Ani, na yerha dublu shara, dublu once and consider the work finished. His entire life was its continuous embodiment. Your practice mirrors that same commitment. A few minutes of conscious engagement each morning, a quiet repetition before sleep. Over time, your body will begin to remember what your distracted mind has not yet been still enough to hear. When the practice of Ane na yerha w shara dabla begins to take root, the changes do not always arrive with dramatic announcement. Some of the deepest shifts are interior, quiet, and structural. You may notice that decisions that once paralyzed you begin to clarify. That is you, RHA, the living current, beginning to function through your consciousness, not because you have become more strategic or more disciplined, but because you have returned to alignment with an intelligence that was always present beneath the surface of your confusion. You may notice that certain narratives you carried about yourself, stories of inadequacy, of being too little or too much, begin to lose their authority over you, not because you have argued yourself free of them, but because Shrada has begun to occupy the interior space those stories once filled. Truth, in the Aramaic sense, does not fight lies. It simply arrives, and when it arrives fully, the false constructs that have been consuming your energy simply have nowhere left to stand. What remains is simpler, quieter, and immeasurably more powerful than anything performance ever produced. You may also notice something shifting in your body, a quality of presence, of genuine aliveness, in ordinary moments that once passed by completely unnoticed. That is K-A-Che-A-E-E, not a mystical future state, but a present tense experience available in the body, in the breath, in the quality of your attention right now. Jesus was not promising a reward waiting beyond death. He was activating something already present and already available in this life, in this body, in this moment. This is the transformation that Jesus made accessible when he declared Ena yerha w shara. He was not constructing a theology to be debated. He was opening a living system, a way, a truth, and a life that can be walked in real time by real people with real and measurable consequences in the world they actually inhabit. The declaration was not past tense when he spoke it, and it is not past tense now. It is still active. It is still speaking. It is speaking to you. We began tonight with a question that has echoed through centuries of spiritual searching. What did Jesus actually mean when he declared Ana na yerha? What we found was far larger than a familiar religious phrase. We found that the translation we inherited, I am the way, the truth. And the life carries only a fraction of the Aramaic's original weight and depth. We discovered that Enna is not a personal pronoun, but a declaration of the eternal self, the divine ground from which Jesus spoke, and which he fully embodied. We traced Yirha as a living current of alignment, not doctrine, but a real intelligence already moving inside you. We unpacked Shrara as the interior state of being undivided, free from every false story that has been consuming your energy for far too long. And we encountered K, not a theological concept about the afterlife, but a present-tense aliveness available to you now. In this body, in this breath, in this moment, we faced the honest question about whether Jesus was speaking as a universal voice or as a specific individual. And we found that the Aramaic holds both in creative, irreducible tension. He spoke from the eternal Ane, and as himself, the one who fully embodied it. Both sare thrue. Both are necessary. The full power of Anana Nayarha Wsara Wwe lives precisely in that tension, and to receive it fully, you must hold both without collapsing one into the other. We also gave you a protocol, not a performance, but a living practice through which these frequencies can move from words you have heard into a reality you actually inhabit. This is the gift that Jesus deposited inside this declaration, a way that is alive, a truth that dissolves what is false, a life that rises from within you as the natural consequence of alignment with the divine current that was always yours. Did you feel something shift today? Did these words touch something deeper in you? If they did, leave the word awakening in the comments. That is your confirmation that the light within you is moving. And when the light moves, it needs a path. Discover our complete collection of 5 sacred study guides created to carry your transformation beyond this moment. The link is pinned in the comments. Your next step is waiting. Right now. Before you close this video, come to the comments and tell us, what did you feel? What shifted? We read every single response. And if this teaching found you today, subscribe to this channel. Every week we go deeper into the ancient frequency codes that were always meant to be yours. We are just scratching the surface of this ancient power. Get ready, because in our next video, I will reveal even deeper Aramaic codes that unlock spiritual authority you've never imagined. Make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on so you don't miss this unfolding revelation.